Hey everybody, welcome back to Grit and Grind. So that job that I did 2 weeks ago actually turned into more stumps and trees. So we're heading back there right now. It wants to go. There we go. If you like this content, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. So he found a few more stumps that are dead and rotten that have been there for a while, but he also had us cut down a couple more trees for him. So now he wants the stumps ground. Because we gave him a good price on the last one, he's having us back. So make sure that you always treat your customers well, and it leads to repeat business. Repeat business is the best kind of business you can get. So we are almost there, and there's somewhere between 5 and 7, I think. I haven't seen all of them yet, but we are going to unload the grinder and start grinding. So I know 2 or 3 of them are fresh cut stumps and the others have been rotten for a while. So we're going to see what we need to do when we get there. I'll pick you back up in a couple minutes. All right, so we're back over here. Set my controller down, put the key in. So we're pretty much ready to go once we unload this. But we got this one right here, which is pretty wide one way, but it's probably about 2.5 feet the other way. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all of 6 feet in one direction, probably 2.5 feet in the other. We got that little one right there that's rotted out. Then there's one over here, looks pretty rotted. Definitely not as big. Let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about 4.5 feet, and then it's a little bit wider in one direction, but looks like, yeah, a little bit of rot, but it gets pretty solid in there. But at least we got them cut low to the ground. And then I know there is some way out back there. I think there's one kind of over there by what looks like sawhorses, and I think there's a couple over in here that we got to get. So we will unload the grinder and we will get to grinding. So we're going to start with this one that's little first. This one's pretty rotten. It's been down for a while. The other 2 bigger ones were freshly cut, but after looking at them, it kind of looks like they were actually rotting pretty good. So it probably won't take too long to go through them, but we'll see. And I know on camera it looks like that wheel is going really slow, but I assure you it's spinning really fast. My motor's running with about 2,800 RPM right now, and it's just chewing right through this stump like butter. It's super easy. These small ones like this, I don't need them to be cut down that much because it chews through them quick. But if we would have left those other ones, that 4.5 footer and that 6 footer, if we would have left those high, it would have taken me forever to get through them. So make sure to cut big stumps like that down. If you have a smaller machine, you can definitely cut these down too, but it really, you got to look at, is it cost effective to do it, and what's your time worth? So when they start getting up past like 2.5 foot, if they're not cut flush, then it does make sense to flush cut them so you don't have any problem. But anything below that, pretty much just grind it as is. Yeah, just right through this, super easy. Barely taking any time. The other ones will take a little bit more time, but I don't think they'll be too bad. Now you see my machine is sitting up a little bit higher because I climbed up on the chips. I don't know how well it shows it on camera, but I can still notice it. Yeah, kind of like that. So I got to make sure to get my head down enough to get below grade here. And some customers have different needs, so I always ask the customer, what are they doing with the area? Are they putting a new tree in? Are they putting plants? Do they just need it to go grass? Because the depth does make a difference for what you need to do and where you need to go. We don't want to grind more than we have to. So this one is done now, and we'll move on to this one right here next. We'll see if we can come at it from a good angle. I'm just trying to adjust my grinder here and put my head all the way over to one side. I know you can't see it, but yeah. Started a little close, it seems. See, I might have to back up a touch. Oh, we're doing pretty good. Yeah. Oh yeah, this one's gonna go real easy. Gets a little hard in there, but go real easy. Tilt you a little bit so you get a little bit straighter view here. So I don't know how well it picks it up, but I can hear the tonal changes. I don't know if you can on video, but that wheel is actually slowing down a little bit. So I am making adjustments here. Gonna get a little wider. Yeah, this one's still pretty solid in the middle, which isn't a big deal, but just take a little longer to grind than it would have previously. You know, on the last stumps we did, they were sitting for years. So they were right easy. And I think these right here are the biggest stumps to do on this whole property. The ones in back I'm told are pretty small. So that'll be nice. finding some rotten spots here in this stuff, which is nice, makes grinding a lot easier. Yeah. So be careful on big chunks like that are sticking up on the backside of this head. There's one. It's pretty stout, but something like that, especially if you got multiple cuts in your stuff from chainsaws, you could actually have that stuff fly out and hit you, or hit something you don't want, like a house or a customer. I don't like to keep any customer out here or any pets out here when I'm grinding. I'm also pretty far away from the house, so that's good. I don't have to worry about anything like that. We're about halfway through this already, so that's good. But yeah, that big tip right here that I'm about to hit with the grinder, something like that could definitely fly out and hit you. So wear protective equipment and make sure that you're being careful and paying attention. Don't want anything to hit. Now on the backside of this stuff, it narrows out, so that's good. So won't even take much. Finish this up. Just doing a standard grind here. This I really only try to get between 4 to 6 inches. When I do a standard grind, you're just gonna get covered over for top of oil. And these wood chips are going right back in the hole anyway, because this is not manicured lawn that we're hitting. I'm just making sure I get a good depth here, because again, I'm getting up on the chips now. One thing you could do if you're ever not raking out behind you or getting the chips out behind you, because this machine has a back blade on it, we could always use the back blade to push the front of the machine down. If you ever need to get super deep and your machine doesn't get as deep as you need for whatever it is you're grinding. Use that blade to your advantage. Took a little bit of a chew bite there. Too big of a bite there. And I know on the backside I'm gonna have a little bit that I'm gonna have to get, so that's fine. But I'm gonna have to reposition my machine to get it. So I'm not worried about going all the way over right now. I'm just worried about getting my depth, and then I can move over a little bit to get whatever the rest is that I don't have. We're almost all the way through this one. Minus the lip. We're almost all the way through. And I'm just occasionally stopping to let my wheel catch up. So yeah, this machine is a hydraulic head. So you can install it as you saw me doing this video about 5 minutes ago, and you've definitely seen it in some of my other videos. No big deal. You just stop, make micro adjustments, or you stop swinging left to right, pick the head up, whatever you got to do to let it catch up. No big deal. Almost through. Then, like I said, we'll have to back up, and I know there's a little bit of stumps left in there on the back side of this machine. So I'll get it. Oh yeah. Now we'll just back up and get that little bit that's left over there. Yep, there it is. Found it. Use the machine to actually uncover what I have, because there's a big pile of chips that I was on. There it is. I don't know if it picks it up on camera, but I am listening for the tonal changes. So let me know, am I grinding wood, am I grinding dirt? Where do I gotta hit? But if you have a smaller machine, definitely don't be afraid to rake this stuff out to make sure you're getting all of it. Last thing you want is a callback. But if the customer does call you back, apologize and go make it a priority to get it done. Do good work and you stand behind your stuff. That's how you get called back to jobs. Almost completely through the last little bit of that stuff. There's a little bit here though. So you gotta get. Yep. Just a little bit right here. Then we'll be on to the bigger one. All right, done with this one, on to the big one. So now we are on to the main big boy, and we'll see how long this one takes us. Hopefully it shouldn't be too bad. Probably similarly too, not going to be able to get to the whole thing, whole side, in one bite, but we'll get as much as we can and then we will readjust as needed. Establishing my depth early. That piece that came flying out of there. That's why you always want to keep a little bit of distance away from your machine and make sure that you got your safety splits engaged. Don't forget to duck accordingly. This one's definitely a little more solid than the last one, and this is the bigger one. And as I work my way down the stump, I'm backing up and, micro adjustments to be able to keep my depth that I need. And I don't know if you heard that all that well, but that kind of loud thudding, that was the stump because there's a cut in here when they were cutting it with the chainsaw, but they didn't get the piece completely out. So that's actually that whole bit of stump. Yep, right there. It actually cracked off, and I'm gonna go get that in a minute and get it out of my way because I don't need that to go flying in any direction and hit something. I'm gonna move this head all the way over. I'm gonna keep it low. I'm gonna go over and grab that piece. Not saying you should do it this way, I'm just telling you what I do. This chunk can come right off. Then we'll go get back in position. Keep grinding. Because those will fly somewhere. And trust me, you don't want to get pelted with it. See that piece that just popped off? Exactly what you want to try to avoid when you get a loose piece of stump. Make sure you move it out of your way. You catch it with the head and it's going to go somewhere you aren't going to want it to go. Every time. See, I'm always constantly moving my head, but when I am in the middle of the stump, I don't like to go down if I can help it. Because that really bogs your machine down. So that's why you notice when it got lower on that farther side, I didn't put it down. I continued my sweep all the way through, and then once I got to the end of my sweep, like now, I'll put it down and come back. And I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I'm not quite making it all the way to that other side of that stump. I got another piece, so I'm just gonna go like that, get it out of my way, walk back around so I'm not exactly all the way back. And just continue on. So I will come up as I'm going through a stump, but like I said, I try not to go down in the middle of a cut. About 10 minutes to get through this 6-footer so far, and we're about halfway done. Not bad. Even me, somebody that grinds for a while, can still mess up. That's why you got relief valves on this machine so you don't mess up. Got too much stump there on the backside, and that's what I just caught up to. Like my customer just pulled up, so I may have to stop this to talk to him for a minute. I'll keep trying until he walks up and see what he needs. He didn't walk up yet, so we're gonna keep going. almost all the way through the biggest part of this, but again, I'm going to have to readjust and go back because about where my front wheels are, there's more stump that I'm going to have to get. So, shouldn't take too long to go through that. This is the last of the real big stuff here. And I see we're at about 20 minutes now. Almost. Almost. little bit in here. I need to get a touch lower. All right, now we just back up, readjust, because about where that track ends should be the rest of this stump. About right there. Maybe a little bit farther back. Yep, a little farther back actually. So we'll use the head to get these shifts out of our way a little bit. Right in there. I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but I can see it. Let's see. Readjust you a little bit. Right in there. Got a little overzealous there. And we're almost through this bad boy. Completely. A little bit right there, so we'll probably have to adjust the way the computer's sitting slightly to get it. So we get it. Definitely don't want to come back. Like I said, I will come back if I need to, but I'd much rather do it the first time and not have to drive all the way back out there. So right in here, there's a little bit. Yep. that dropped. So we're gonna call it a day. I'm gonna check my machine. That's it for this one. Let's go see where the rest are, but let me check my machine first, check these teats, and see if I messed up anything too bad. All right, so after checking, I busted two side teeth. So that one right there is busted off the end, which was on this side right here. So all I did was swap this one that was in the back facing this way and this one up to there. And then I had one lead tooth that I just had to do right here. One lead tooth, brand new, because I busted that off. Completely took the carbide right off of it when I hit. And this is what you gotta watch out for. Stone. So that's where I stopped. But we are gonna go get back to grinding. It only had me down for about 5 minutes or so. We'll get back to the last couple stumps out in the back. Right back out here on to the next one. Looks like two. And these ones have been sitting for a while. That one behind this one actually looks like a stretch cut. This one has been sitting for a while. Grab those couple of chunks. Don't want to get hit by that. Pretty easy. Now all this footage that we got, I haven't sped any of it up, so this is real time. Almost sure enough. All right, last one. All right, so on this one, we're just gonna hit this little edge right here, and then we're gonna come at it pretty much from where the camera's sitting. So that way we can get it with one sweep. Make it super easy on us. And then that'll be it. All right, so we'll just readjust real quick and finish blasting this out. Last little bit. not too bad. One was freshly shut too. Not grinding out like the rotten ones we did the last time we were here, but ain't bad at all. Getting down to the nitty-gritty now. That's it, we're done. Get loaded up and pick you back up. All right, we are in the truck. We are loaded up and heading out. That's going to be it for this next one. So leave it down in the comments below if you were doing, let's just say that 6-footer took me about a half hour. If you were doing it, what machine are you using and how long would it have taken you to do it? There's definitely bigger machines, there's definitely smaller machines, and I've done it with a smaller machine before I had my 2550, but I enjoy having a bigger machine, and maybe at some point I would get even the next size bigger machine. So that's going to do it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm glad I could bring you back some stump grinding content. I know it's been a minute and I apologize, but winter hit here in Western New York and nobody's grinding anything in the winter. But there's going to be some videos popping up on your screen now. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content.